Hey, everybody. Spencer Hawes was just 19 years old when he entered the NBA, and he admits he had a lot to learn about basketball and life. He did have some mentors looking out for him, but even with their guidance, adjustment to that lifestyle had its challenges. Spencer spent 10 years in the NBA, and this week we talk about all the things that he learned and what he would do differently. He opens up about facing criticism, gaining confidence, and the stark reality that his NBA career was over when that phone stopped ringing. Spencer is part of a rich history of basketball in the Pacific Northwest, and he looks forward to the day the NBA returns to his hometown of Seattle. So let's get to it with Spencer Hawes. Yeah, good. I see you're wearing the purple, representing the Huskies, huh?
Yeah, at least one of my teams got it done this weekend.
You have a long history with the University of Washington, of course, with your uncle playing there and your dad playing there. Did you grow up with going to games with your dad when you were a little kid and watching, the Huskies play?
Yeah, actually, my grandpa was a crew jock before then. His dad had basically was one of the guys that I think the story goes he got them their first shell back in the day when the crew program was starting. So there's a few generations of Haas, and we grew up going to pretty much every football game. Ironically, I don't remember going to many basketball games.
Mm.
The one memory I have that kind of stands out to me was meeting Napoleon Kaufman at a basketball game.
Oh yeah, I bet that was a big deal.
That was a big deal for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
like
yeah, it's been a long running tradition.
yeah. Did when you were in high school, how much interaction did you have much interaction with the long legacy we have of NBA players in the Northwest or even that high collegiate level? Because clearly it's a very long list. And I'm just wondering, were you mixing in with those guys as you got better in high school and started playing in more high profile games?
Yeah, I think that was something that was for myself being one of many kids. Having the older guys, Jamal especially, kind of organizing the pickup games and then, taking everybody under his wing, along with a number of older people, but with him having the pro-am and everything that, the opportunities that it gave us, to get that kind of higher level of exposure and competition, even more before I was really good enough to kind of keep up. The pickup games are always at UW, and it's a good way to kind of go test yourself, playing against older guys, playing against better guys, and it's cool to see that community now, through our generation, and now just a couple weeks ago, I was helping Paulo
Mhm.
working his and Caro over in Bellevue, and I'd say he's it's kind of been passed off to him now to kind of be that guy for the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to be a part of that. Does that I mean, what does it feel like for you to help carry on that basketball brotherhood of kind of the Pacific Northwest?
I think it's important, especially with the absence, obviously, of our professional team. Um, with the pro-am specifically, there was a lot of Saturdays and Sundays. Maybe there are some things I'd probably rather be doing in the off season, but I always felt like it was important when you see those kids down there with their parents that's the closest that really a lost generation of Seattle youth. That's what I refer to them as growing up, not knowing at all, or certainly not remembering when the Sonics were here. Um, we understand that pro-am's not like watching the Sonics playing the Lakers down at the arena, but to try and get a little taste of that as much as possible, I think was important to everybody. And I think probably a big reason why it was so successful and will be again starting next summer when he kicks it back off. Because that's the closest thing we're going to get in the 206.
Yeah.
The pre games are fun, but I think the natives are kind of getting restless with in preseason games and no
Yeah.
news on it.
Well, and give credit to Jamal, man. He brings out, I mean, every name in the book, doesn't he? I mean, they and what does that say about him that he gets, Jason Tatum and LeBron's been out here. I mean, he gets everybody to come out.
He's called in a lot of favors to try and keep that thing packed and give kids the opportunity to see their heroes. And yeah, I really appreciate all the work that he's put into it and his team to make that thing go. And uh, he gave me a little sneak preview of what he's got up his sleeve for kicking it back off next summer. I think it's going to hit the ground running where it was before COVID and everything else.
Oh, I love that. So how old were you when the Sonics bailed?
I was 19. I was after my rookie year.
Oh,
So,
okay. Oh, I didn't even realize. I didn't realize. Okay, I was thinking you were younger than that. So it was after your rookie year.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
So did you play a game? Did you play a game then at Key Arena then?
Probably the most excited I've ever been for a basketball game. Be able to look up and uh, my family, my dad had tickets. Where were they? 115, row 13, 1 and 2. So seeing familiar faces sitting in the seats that I'd always known, and then have the whole family up in a suite was pretty fun. I was hurt the first game, unfortunately, so I only got one. But it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And what did you do you look at that? And I did a podcast with John Finkel, the author of Hoop Heist, and it's a great book. He goes through the Sonics history and then obviously the sale. Do you still find it hard to believe that even happened, though, looking back at it now?
It it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint to me still, maybe even less so now than it did then, with the market and the valuation. But I guess they did just win a championship, so
Yeah. Yeah.
probably in Oklahoma. But it's hard to believe that the league would allow a legacy franchise like that with so much history and the championship tradition to just up and move. And I think there's a reason you haven't seen it since, outside of kind of the weird like Oklahoma City, Charlotte, New Orleans, you know, Katrina related
Mhm.
moves
Relocation.
right here, because it's such a scar when those things are allowed to happen, that I definitely think the league learned a lesson doing it the first time around. And with the recent sale of the Blazers, them coming out as quickly as they did and kind of reaffirming their commitment to Portland and to allow the redeveloping the arena there. I think there's a reason that Portland wasn't messing around when they announced the sale.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think David Stern used Seattle as an example, maybe as a warning shot to other communities, but it feels like there's good momentum here. There's good people that are really trying to make this, expansion team happen, and it feels like it's coming. I mean, you never know until it's done, but you're pretty plugged into the basketball world. How do you feel about the chances of another team coming to Seattle?
I mean, it'll happen. I think I'm like probably pretty much everybody is frustrated that they say we got to get through COVID, then we'll talk about it. And then we got to get through the media rights deal, and that gets done. And now we got to get through the Celtics sale, that gets done. That sets a record. I guess they didn't have that crown very long with the Lakers, but it's like it's just kind of the punting and punting, and oh, now we don't know if we want to share the pie. It's the valuations are so high. Uh, the demographic that can even afford a team now
Right.
is they're kind of running out of billionaires.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that type of that type of liquidity to be able to stroke those types of checks on the kind of the hobby projects. So it's gonna happen. I think every time, like my wife always, she's like, "How much longer?" I'm like, "2 years," and she's like, "You told me that it was like the third cycle of you telling me it's gonna be 2 more years," and so now I don't. I don't want to put a, timeline on it. I've made that mistake with the Sacramento situation and kind of putting the cart ahead of the horse before the ink was dry on that one. So
Yeah.
I'm optimistic, but I'm trying not to think about it too much because you don't want to get your hopes up and
Yeah.
get burned.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It'll be a big day. It'll be a big day when if and when that gets announced. I'd like to kind of talk about but your upbringing, and we started on that a little bit. Did you play other sports as a kid? I mean, clearly basketball. When you grew, what was your single sport in college and beyond? But were you a multi-sport kid growing up?
Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking at a coaches clinic at Seattle U last weekend, and uh, my kind of thesis, I guess, for lack of a better term, was the state of American basketball compared to the rest of the world, specifically Europe, and my concern with the way that we develop kids now. And one of the coaches asked a question, what would you? I don't have any kids, but what would you do with your kid in terms of trying to raise them as a basketball player? I said the first thing I would do is make sure that they're whatever season it is, they're playing that sport, especially
Hmm.
when they're young, and encourage soccer, football. I don't know about football. I never played football, so
Hmm.
I don't know if we want the concussions, but
Yeah.
I played lacrosse, I skied, I did water sports. I mean, whatever. If it was baseball season, I was playing baseball. I didn't do the AAU thing until really high school. So that was the point that I would say I got specialized going into high school, and that's when it boiled down to just basketball. But I'm so grateful that my parents put me in everything and let me try, whatever the season was and whatever my friends were doing, because now you see kids that get so hyper specialized at first grade, second grade, and you're not learning. There's so many skills that translate between sports that you're missing out on. And then the burnout factor, I think, is kind of the cherry on top of
Yeah.
so many kids that by the time they get to high school, it's like they've done the 10,000 hours twice and they've lost their love for it. And, if one of the sad things, I think, unfortunately, if you reach the highest level is for most people, it does become a job, and you do lose some of that passion for it with the business side of the sport. But I think encouraging kids to be as well rounded as long as they can, it helps put that off. Hopefully, you know, if they make it, it puts it off longer, and if not, then hopefully they keep their love of it as long as they can.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's well said. For you, as you talk about getting into high school, do I have it correct that you grew like 7 inches from your freshman year to your senior
I,
year?
yeah, from freshman year, probably.
Yeah.
I was 6'4", 145 in my freshman physical at Pratt. By sophomore basketball season, I was like 6'9", 215. So
Wow.
that was a
Wow.
long, that was a long year of a lot of sleep and a lot of knee pain.
Yeah. Wow. That's grown big time. And obviously, as you grew and your game grew, so did the accolades. I mean, making, AP All American, Parade All American, McDonald's. Did you feel pressure, as you think about you as a high school kid? You guys won a state championship, tournament MVP. So Seattle Prep wins a state championship. But do you remember feeling pressure as a high school kid?
Oh, a ton of it. I mean, uh, we didn't even qualify for the state championship until my senior year.
Hmm.
Both previous two, so freshman year, I think they put me on varsity because they thought I was going to be tall, but I didn't, I didn't play very much. I guess it was 3 years in a row because we lost heartbreaker uh, let's see, my freshman year, we lost to Mercer Island. Um, or sorry, my freshman year, I can't remember who we lost to. Sophomore year, we lost to Mercer Island when we were stacked. Um, when Martell got hurt.
Martell
And then,
Webster was on your team. Yeah.
yep, we lost to little Taylor Olson when he went nuts on us. And then loser out game against Garrison Carr where he led us up the next round. So going into my senior year, I'd never been to the state tournament, but, much less competed to
Yeah.
win it. And I remember going on Mitch in the morning, and he kind of backman him to guaranteeing that that we'd win the state championship. And so I kind of stuck in the back of my head. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
we, we got to get this thing done for multiple reasons.
Wow. That is some real pressure, man. I didn't realize I knew you played with Martell Webster, who of course went first round pick in it went into the NBA as well. So he was a senior when you were sophomore and
Oh,
you
he's a year older than me.
one
So
year older than you. So
my
you
junior
guys
year.
that duo did not make it to the state tournament together.
No. And as far as my research goes, we're the only team in the history of civilization that's had two top picks and not won the state tournament, not to mention.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, we'll try to
Like,
bury
yeah,
that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
great. We were able to get it done after
So
because
yeah, but that does show you, I mean, that, you were still developing and developing your game. And so as you graduate high school, you go to the UW for 1 year, University of Washington. Could you have gone to the NBA at that point, or was there a requirement to go to college? What was the decision-making process?
so we were the first class. Well, I guess the first class in 20 or 30 years that the requirement was put on that we went to college. I guess technically no one was really doing the overseas thing yet.
Right.
There was no G League Ignite. So yeah, everyone was going to college. And so I'm grateful that that decision was made for me. I think it was hard enough doing it at 19. I can't imagine what it would have been like
Yeah.
physically and probably more so mentally, um, being so green, stepping into that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, so it forced you, that's right, that was the first year where they mandated you didn't go directly from high school to the NBA. Um, how do you think you would have handled NIL money as a high school kid, or just NIL attention and everything that comes with that? Because we're seeing it clearly in college. I know it's filtering into high school in different sports that early. I don't know, what's your take on that?
I can tell you how I would have handled it because it would have been poorly. Because the same way I handled my advance when I got my
Yeah, because you
professional
were
contract.
just a year later, right? You were in the NBA, so you kinda did experience it in a way, right?
Yeah, and I remember calling my dad. They make you go. They call it rookie. God, what's I forget the technical term for it, but it's basically like a retreat somewhere. They don't tell you where it is. They don't tell you where you're going. You fly into New York, a car is waiting for you, and then they take you to some conference center out in the middle of the woods. Rookie transition,
Mm.
and I remember getting like my first check and actually looking at the left side versus the right side, and calling my dad and asking him to explain how the one number got to the net number. It's like, what is Social Security? Can you
Yeah,
explain to me why did the $13,000 go there? That's
yeah,
Medicaid, Medicare, all these
right,
taxes. He was just kind of on the other end of the phone laughing, and like, welcome to the real world, kid.
right, right, yeah, yeah, so what was it like that, I mean, having money early on, what was that like? Did your parents intervene to try to guide you a little bit?
Because I bought a car and a watch, and then that that rookie that kind of extension money or whatever that they sent me, the upfront payment was gone pretty quick, and
Mhm,
I was back living in their basement, trying to sign as many cards as I could to
yeah,
have money. What they don't tell you is you can negotiate the advance, but you don't start getting paid until the second week in November. So, that's a 2 or 3 month uh, delta where you got some endorsements, but you're not getting any game checks. And fortunately, I didn't have too many liabilities on the balance sheet at that point, but that had me back in the basement trying to scramble for
yeah.
my house that I was renting down in Sacramento.
Yeah, that's so wild to think about. I mean, you lived it, but that young age and that, the money, that comes into people's lives, and sometimes they don't have anyone to guide them. You can see how that can become a problem. What as you enter this rookie year, kid growing up in the Pacific Northwest, I mean, what were the moments like? Were you starstruck when you saw, Kobe or whomever, right? You named the player, but you had to play it cool. But were there times where you were like, wow, you're taking all this in?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they say if you don't admit it, but it's human nature. If you're
Yeah.
playing for Shaq or Tim Duncan, Dirk were the guys that were always guys I kind of looked up to and tried to emulate. And no, there's definitely a lot of that going on. And then you try and just kind of keep your composure as best you can and get some confidence from uh, if you can find something that you can kind of going up against guys like that, you can get something to go your way. It goes a long way in the confidence department if you can pull off something nifty when you're playing against your idols.
Did you ever have, were there particular other players that were mentors or a guide to you as a rookie or particular coaches maybe?
Yeah, so the two people I would say in Sacramento, Brad Miller as a player was my vet, and fortunately for me, we had kind of a similar similar size style of play. So a lot of the kind of crafty white guy tricks of the trade pass along, and then Coach Carrill, rest in peace. The Pete Carrill, the innovator of the Princeton offense, the high
Right.
post, the splits, all that stuff. He was one of our assistants, and he was great with the technical stuff for me, on the court, but the off the court and dealing with the transition, like we talked about, and going from being amongst your peers to now all of a sudden your teammates have families and kids, and it's grown men, and you still feel like a little kid. He was really huge for me with a lot of stuff off the court and the mental side of the transition and learning how to be a pro and everything that comes along with that.
Did you ever get stuck with one of those, big dinner bills or anything like any of those rookie things that I see sometimes, they get $30,000 dinner bill for everybody or one of those types of
Oh,
things?
but I stuck a few people with them, but I fortunately did not get hammered on that too bad. But I learned pretty quickly if you just the more you try and fight it, that's when you get you get reservations like that with your name on it. If you just kind of do what you're tasked with, then you make things a lot easier on yourself.
So, as you start playing in your first and second year early in your career, how did you face the mental challenge of that? Did you doubt yourself, and how did you handle that transition to the best of the best you're playing with?
It definitely. I mean, it's few. They're few and far between examples of guys that just are so prepared or talented or whatever combination. Obviously, that can just come in and hit the ground running. But for me, I wasn't playing a ton in the beginning of the year, and that was the first time since high school, I think, that you're suiting up for games and you're not playing, and then the outside chatter. It's like, oh, this guy was the 10th pick. He's not playing. Bust, all that stuff. You try and keep that as far away from you as possible, but it's almost impossible. And I think dealing with the not playing part was difficult. The other thing that is kind of tough, like what we just talked about, you know, the friendships and the connections with guys that are so much older, so much more mature in such a different space. When you're 19, I can't, maybe I can go out to dinner on the road, but you don't
Uh-huh.
have the bond off the court a lot of times because you can't, can't go to a bar,
Right.
you can't hang out. And, uh, in a town like Sacramento, they got it. When everybody knows the rookie's 19, you got eyes on you everywhere. So I learned that lesson the hard way, pretty early. But I think the hardest part off the court for me was you go from college or high school where your whole day is so regimented. Everything's planned out for you. Everything's taken care of you. All you got to do is show up to class, show up to training table, show up to tutoring, games, practice, whatever. And then you get to the NBA and, you know, by the time the season's rolling, you don't really practice. Maybe you get there at 9 and you're done by 12:30, 1:30, and you have all this free time. And free time and money, I don't think are a great combination
Mhm.
for anybody.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and so you're out those are the hours you're talking about between when shoot around ends in the morning, so you
Or
guys are
practice.
or
Yeah.
practice ends and
Game
before.
day, the game days, at least, you kind of have a routine pretty quickly on,
I see. So you're
you know,
talking practice
oh,
days. Practice is over at 1 o'clock. You got the rest of the day to
what am I doing until bed?
yeah.
I didn't cook. Uh, I lived by myself. I mean, I'd have people, that would come to town, but I was, for all intents and purposes, living by myself. And so it's a lot of hours to try and fill.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I mean, that's a tough thing. I mean, about younger players in particular coming in. I mean, I think I mean, I was a mess when I was 19, so you're on the stage. Where did the confidence really start to fill in as your game evolved? I think, the Philadelphia years seemed the most memorable. Was it just time in and growing your game that the you felt more confident?
Yeah, I think definitely that. I was kind of a late bloomer physically, so um, feeling like when my body kind of caught up, I grew between my rookie season and my second year, and was finally able to put some weight on. And I think that, and then the end of my rookie year when we were out of the playoffs, that's when the young guys start playing and just getting a little runway to get some confidence. And heading into the off season, having a good off season where you're not going from flying across the country from workout to the draft to summer league, being able to have some more consistency with that. And then I kind of knew my second year going in, uh, Brad had gotten suspended for the first 5 games. So all going into training camp, I knew I was going to be the starter uh, to start the season off, and tried to make a real point to hit the ground running. Uh, yeah, I knew I wasn't going to steal his job, but to try and show enough in those first 5 games, which I think I did to establish a role for myself. And uh, after that, it was kind of no looking back.
Mhm. What are the moments that jump out to you? I mean, you had a 10-year career, you played on a number of teams, and I kinda mentioned the Philly years. Are there certain moments, games, that jump out at you when you think of that career that stand out more than others?
I think most of them, the playoffs are always
Yeah.
the ones that come to mind. And um, fortunately, my first year in Philly, we were able, after I think 3-13, pretty horrendous start to the season, we were able to kind of climb our way into sneaking into the 8 seed. For unfortunately ran into the Heatles in the first year of LeBron in South
Right.
Beach. So our big thing was don't get swept that series, and then get enough confidence as a kind of a group from that one. The next year, we were able to upset the Bulls and take a much older championship level team in the Celtics to a 7 game series, which still don't understand how Rajon Rondo made all those threes down the stretch to
Not that
wait,
not
but
that it sticks with you, yeah.
oh, I'd let it go. And then um, the next couple years were tough with the process and the
Mhm.
change of ownership kind of going a different direction with the roster. We thought we were closer than obviously they did with the group we had, and seeing Andre get traded away to Iguodala, and then the next year Drew Holiday got traded away, and he realized pretty quickly that the team wasn't trying to win anymore.
Right.
And um, that, yeah, I mean, I think the playoff, the good, unfortunately for me, there's more bad than good. We had a couple heartbreaking ones.
Mhm.
The Clippers a couple years later being up 3-1 and losing that series to the Rockets. But those are the games, the environments, the battles that I think stand out about the most.
So I think if I have this right, you were traded 4 times in your career.
No. Sounds about right.
That sounds right. So, I mean, you got it down after a while, but what is that like to be traded? I didn't look this up, but if any of those were in the season, what is that like? Because we as fans, we just think a guy gets traded and that's it. But then on the inside, are you looking for housing? Are you like what happens
Yeah,
when you get traded?
it's I got traded twice during the season, twice during the off season. The off season ones, well, I guess it depends. When I got traded from Sacramento, I was pretty excited. It was during a softball game. It was in June, so I'm like, all right, I'll deal with that
Yeah.
later. But I get to go. It's like I get out of here. All right, I was excited about that one. Uh, when I got traded from Philly, I was an expiring contract. I knew that I wasn't going to make it through the deadline. It went all the way to the deadline. I thought I was going to San Antonio. That was everything I was hearing from my agent on the rumor mill. And then the morning of, he calls me and he says, "Sorry, man, it's Cleveland." And so, and I had a great experience at Cleveland. We were making the organization was trying to make a push with a young Kyrie and a good young core to make the playoffs, which unfortunately we fell short of. And um, then signing a 4-year deal that offseason and with the Clippers, I kind of thought, all right, this is my chance to kind of find a home. And I think I don't know if it would have been different had we not lost that series in the way that we did, but clearly there were some moves that needed to be made, and I was one of the guys that was on the chopping block and got traded during Game of Thrones. That one, I think Woj once told me, and once I found out with a Woj blonde that I was getting traded. I'm pretty sure that one was a Woj texted me before I had
Wow.
even
Wow.
heard
So
from the
that's a reporter, Ryan Wojnarowski. You're saying texts you, says, "Hey, what's your reaction? You've been traded." That's how you're finding out.
yeah. And once again, that's in June or July. Ironically, I was actually at Blake Griffin's house. I think it was like a Sunday night. We were just kind of hanging out, messing around in the pool, watching Game of Thrones, getting ready to. And
Yeah.
off season, it's whatever. And then the last time when I got traded from Charlotte to Milwaukee, I started the game before, which I hadn't been starting, so I thought that was kind of. But you're optimistic. You're like, "Oh, I good. I'm back in the starting lineup and where I want to be." And then next morning, the flight got delayed twice, and that was kind of we stayed over in San Francisco, and um, once again back to the bus on Twitter, and myself and Roy Hibbert checking our phones, and we see the Woj tweet that we've been traded to Milwaukee, and like giving everybody a high five. All right, see you guys later, and the coach and the GM, they're all standing outside the bus. Hey, thank you so much. It's a business, whatever. You want to come with us to Utah? Well, you can, flight. We'll still take you, whatever, and you can go. Absolutely not. I don't want to see you guys again. I'm going to go in the city.
Yeah. What a
And
weird concept. What a weird concept, that I mean, no one really experiences that except sports players.
it is, and like that situation was frustrating because I had to fly. I had to get from San Francisco to Milwaukee commercial, which is not apparently as easy as I would have thought.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then the team was in Phoenix. So then I had to go to Milwaukee, do my physical, get all the paperwork out of the way, and then fly back to Phoenix to meet the team. And I didn't start playing right away. I think I sat for like 8 games before I actually got in the game. Versus when I got traded from Philly, when I knew I was going, I kind of prepared. Like I packed up my apartment, what I thought I'd need based on where I thought I was going, which was San Antonio.
Right.
And then I got the call before practice, so I didn't go to practice. I went to my little Italian restaurant and had lunch and uh kind of waited for the call from the Cavs. And David Griffin, who was the GM at the time, called me up and said, "Hey, if I get you a plane, can you be ready tonight?" I'm like, "You tell me, boss. It's it's your call." And
Yeah.
so I basically threw everything I thought I needed for the rest of the year onto my bed. I packed a bag to go to Toronto and wherever the rest of the road trip was, and my mom flew out and packed my car up with the stuff on the bed and called the movers. I never saw my apartment again.
Wow. Yeah. Just
Playing playing the next night, uh, you know the guys for the most
yeah.
part, and
Yeah.
walking through the locker room, reintroducing yourself, and then they're like, "All right, we'll keep it simple. This is what you need to know on offense. This is what we call, this on defense, and go go sink or swim."
Yeah. What a fascinating aspect of that career. That's really unique to athletes that I don't think, it doesn't happen at tech firms, right? People don't get traded and then move in cities on a day's notice. Um 10-year career. Does it feel like it went by fast
Yeah,
in some ways?
I think the further out you get, I think the quicker it feels like it went, and I think the fact that it's the season's more or less 6 months, and then the off season's a little less than 6 months. But the fact that kind of as soon as you're like really getting recalibrated into season mode or off season mode, it switches. It seems like that makes the time go by quicker than like when you were in school
Uh,
for 9, and then you get a little break and then you're back in school versus when it's half and half, you're never really quite fully settled into, is it the season? Is it the off season? And then it just kind of starts, snowballing. And before you know it, it's year 8. And
yeah.
you're looking back like, yeah, where did it go? And I think now that I'm getting close to, I think this is 7 years out for me. I'm getting close to being out as long as I was, as long as I was
Mm,
in it. That that's definitely kind of starting to feel weird.
yeah. Do you look back at your career and think about things you would have done differently? Because we all do that in life, right? Are there aspects of your NBA career that you would have changed if you could have?
Yeah, I think I definitely would have put more of a filter on my tongue.
Mm, really?
On and I think I had a few too many takes, especially in the political realm that
Mm,
didn't always land the best. And I think the perspective in anything is, you don't realize it oftentimes until whatever situation you needed it for is passed you by. But I think the perspective of, even if I'm waving a towel on the bench, not playing, like that's still the best job in the world
uh,
versus when you're in. I remember like year 7 being frustrated about a situation, just being like, I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is fine. I realizing how good you had it and how lucky you are to be in that position, I think is kind of the macro thing that sticks out to me, that appreciate what you have when you have it, because you never know how fleeting it is. Like I got called basically the morning Milwaukee waived me, and GM's trying to get kind of circumvent my agent and get me to take a buyout. I'm like, how? I'm just hearing this August, whatever. I'm getting ready to move back, go to training camp, and all of a sudden there's a wrench, and uh, the Lakers had offered me a non-guaranteed deal to go to camp, and went down and worked out for them and went well. They promised however many guys that they'd have the opportunity to come to camp on a non-guarantee, and I wish I could have swallowed a little more of my pride then and just
uh,
said, all right, I'm going to burn it. I know I can go make the team. And because when that phone stops ringing,
yeah.
it's a lot harder getting back in than getting in the first place.
Yeah. Well, that's perspective, like you said, right? I mean, and that goes for a lot of different careers and moments in our lives. I mean, perspective gives those things a lot of color. I appreciate you sharing that too, Spencer, because I think people can get something from that. I mean, particularly what you said about year 7 and your mind tells you like, "Hey, I'm over this," but really, like, someday you're gonna look back and say, "That was pretty good," pretty good spot to be.
Big deal.
Yeah.
It's
Do
the
you talk to younger players about this and about life in the NBA and what, some of the things to expect and to navigate?
Definitely. I think one of the cool things that Paulo did at his camp was took guys after one of the morning sessions, and we did kind of like a closed door Q&A with, there were only 40 kids there. And it was myself, Jaden McDaniels, Isaiah Thomas, Jamal, and Paulo kind of just sitting up in the front of this room, and kids could ask anything on the court, off the court. And I think the engagement and the reception on their end was refreshing to see, from a bunch of teenagers, especially kind of this generation. I know we all like to knock the generations behind us for what they do or oftentimes don't do, but I thought they were really engaged. They asked good questions. They listened. A couple of them followed up after the fact, and I think that's refreshing to see that they're as invested, with this kind of the intangibles off the court as they are just being a really good basketball player. Because I think the thing you realize the longer you go along is talent can get you there, and it's the other stuff that keeps you around. And it's it's something that I wish I would have done a better job of when I was a kid, is asking those questions and not being afraid or embarrassed or thinking it's a stupid question because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's good that they're hearing it from you guys, and they're getting a taste of it, and hopefully they're taking you up on that and learning from it. So you play for 10 years, so you're probably what, 29, 30 when you're finishing your NBA career? I mean, that's still, like, I look at that as so young, right? And
What do I know?
yeah, you do too now, right? 7 years ago. So what was that transition like? I mean,
Horrible.
was it depressing?
Absolutely. Like like we kind of talked about, it happened so quickly for me where it wasn't. I we added this waive and stretch provision in the last collective bargaining agreement, and never I never really thought anything about it. I was like, I got another year left. Can't wait to sign another contract after this. Here we go. Season's about to start, and then so you're kind of ramping up. You're ready, chomping at the bit. You're ready to go, and then all of a sudden the door shuts. And that first year, I was working out the whole time, and you get a call and you go do a workout, but they go another direction, and then you're banging your head against the wall, like, what am I doing wrong here? And it definitely, um, it's you you like to think you'd be more well-rounded by the time you're getting to that age, but when you're a guy like me that's kind of been spoiled and been in the NBA or college or whatever,
Mm,
it's all, oh, it's who you are. And um, you take that chunk of you, and it's it's a lot. I mean, any way you put it, you're taking a loss, you're kind of losing a part of you. And the next year I did the G League thing, and I thought, all right, I'll humble myself. I'll show that I can still play, and that I'm humble enough to go down and get on those commercial flights and fly to Waukesha, Wisconsin, or
mm,
wherever that. And uh, I thought that would kind of be the catalyst that would give me a 10-day or an opportunity, a non-guaranteed deal. And uh, it was not.
yeah. Well, you're talking about identity, right? I mean, your identity was NBA player, basketball star from, high school on through. So that's that's I think not surprising to hear. I appreciate you sharing it, but your identity was wrapped up in basketball. So what did you do to try to work through that? How did you work through that?
It was tough. I mean, you build it up for so many years and decades, and then it's kind of the rug's pulled right out from
Mhm.
under you. I don't know that there's a roadmap to trying to fill that void. And honestly, I don't know. The cliche is, if you're an athlete, you die twice. You die when you retire, and you die when you die. And
Mm,
I don't know if there's anything that ever will fill that void. Not from, I mean, from the competitive kind of adrenaline, whatever combination of that standpoint. It is a part of you. It's a certain part of your identity, no matter how well rounded you are, if you make it to that level. But the thing in hindsight that I wish I would have done a better job of was accepting that that day is coming
Mhm.
and preparing as a person, as a business person, whatever combination for transitioning, having more stuff going on that wasn't just tied to basketball to make, the next phase of your life a little more seamless and a little more, uh, make the roadmap a little clearer. Like, all right, this is what I'm going to do to start my day. This is going to be my routine. This is what I'm going to get excited about, whether it's whatever kind of challenge it is, from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, whatever it is. That's the part that I think I would tell guys, like, when you get over 25, start thinking about what your interests are, and how
Mhm.
you're going to start uh, filling your time, stimulating your mind, challenging yourself in whatever arena you need to be challenged in, because when it ends abruptly. And there's no one when you're coming up, everybody's waiting on you. They're trying to help you. They're trying to put you in the best position possible. There's no When you're on the other side of it, you don't have no one's checking on you. Like, I didn't know how to go to the doctor, how,
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's like, where do you start? I've never been forced to grow up. Really, it's a fantasy land, and it's like I don't think I really became an adult until I was on the other end of playing basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think of guys like Tyler Lockett when he was doing real estate and kind of dabbling in other businesses and things like that, and trying to plan for the future. And but for you it did happen abruptly, so you didn't have that runway for that as much. What have you been doing then with your time now? It's been a few years, of course. I think you're involved in a winery and you're in some other businesses. And what does life look like now for you?
It's life's pretty good. I too many complaints. I got married last summer to
Congrats.
my bride. So her whole family's up here, so that makes things easy. In that department, and that's been great. Have the little winery in Walla Walla, Rhineband Family Vineyards that I'm a part of now. I'm doing real estate development, building houses in Seattle, and not the best time in that
Hmm. Yeah.
in that industry, but you learn a lot more. Another cliche, everyone says you learn a lot more from the losses than the wins. And fortunately or unfortunately, getting into development in the last few years has been tricky, but it's a shotgun start, and kind of learning the ins and outs and what to do, and oftentimes more importantly, what not to do.
Do you think you'll stay involved in basketball, anything beyond some camps and things like that? I mean, as coach, did you ever explore coaching or anything down that avenue?
No, and I've always said I didn't want to coach, and I think I think most guys when they get done need a break
Hmm.
and that decompression, and like I didn't watch. I was so mad, sad, whatever, depressed when I got waived that like I didn't really watch any basketball for like the first year and a half. And then once you kind of get out of your feelings and quit feeling sorry for yourself, then that itch, you start getting that itch back. And now I love, even if it's just for an afternoon, like being in the gym, uh, you appreciate it so much more being on the other side of it. I don't know that coaching is the avenue beyond maybe like the high school level that I would get involved in, but definitely the kids and the youth basketball, I think is where I probably have the most passion for, and trying to help develop that next generation on the court and off it. And helping the guys that come up in the Seattle basketball community, seeing a guy like Paulo,
Hmm.
how well he's doing, and now what he's giving back to our community. I think uh, that means a lot, kind of being on my side of the aisle where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's two things. One, you're part of that Northwest basketball community, which is rich and deep, and you'll always be part of that. With that's pretty cool. And then this whole NBA career on its own. I wonder, like, is there something about being an NBA player that would surprise people? We think we know what, what their lives are like, and it's all good, and it's all first class hotels and private planes and whatnot. But are there elements that you think would surprise people?
I think it part of what we spoke about earlier, like it's depending on your situation. I was never married. Um, I always, for the most part, lived by myself during the season. I think it can be a pretty lonely and boring existence, especially if your team's not winning.
Oh yeah,
And it is a team sport, but at the end of the day, it's like you're always kind of battling, looking out for yourself versus sacrificing for the team. I think the thing you realize, um, and I think for whether you're the 12th guy on the bench or the best player, is that you get paid based on how your team does,
mm,
not your individual stats. And
yeah,
I think the sooner you realize that, the better off you're going to be in many departments, not just the bottom line. But uh, I think for all the perspective from the outside that it's all glitz and glamour and it's all good, I think the reality is and I've told people this before and no one believes you, but if you poll an NBA team, how many guys on that team would say they're happy with their situation?
yeah,
It's a lot more than not,
yeah,
because we're coddled. We all have big egos. We all think we should be making more money and playing more and getting more commercials. And I think that hyper competitiveness that allows you to be able to excel at that level, I think that's the other side of the coin that uh, most guys, especially when you're younger, haven't figured out how to kind of mold it and use it to be productive versus letting it be, kind of the devil on your shoulder.
yeah, yeah. Kevin Love shared some of that. That was more a little bit on the mental side of like dealing with the pressure and the isolation, even though you're in a big, everyone's watching you, 20,000 people, but it can be isolating that you're traveling from city to city, going to hotel, on the bus to the, practice facility. So, and when the team's not winning, I could see how that could, really get into someone's head. So,
Yeah, having being at dinner and after a game and having someone come up and motherfuck you is
really, well, is that in
that's
Philly or is that all over? Philly, you played in a tough spot, man, with Philadelphia.
I was in Philly and I love the Philly fans, but no one teaches you the roadmap on how you're supposed to respond in those situations, because I always tell people and try and reiterate it to the younger guys. If you The majority of interactions you have, and this is not just whether you're a basketball player or not, but if you're 7 feet tall and you're playing in the NBA, there's a lot more opportunities for people to come up and
Yeah,
have interact. Right? And if you're only as good as your first impression in a lot of cases. And if you give people just a little bit of grace and kindness, they're going to go back and tell everybody you're the nicest guy in the world.
yeah,
And if you're having a bad day and you're just a little bit sliding to the asshole side, then you're the worst guy ever. So
yeah,
just try and remember that, it doesn't take a lot to make somebody's day. Like perfect example, was at the Husky game last weekend and ran into a buddy and his kid, and I think Carter was probably 8 years old, and his dad's a huge Carolina fan, and he sees Paulo and he goes over and his dad kind of taps me and he's like, "You think Carter can go say hi to Paulo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take him over there," and go over and he's, looking up. He's so excited. And Paul asked him who his favorite team was, and he goes, "Duke." And I just saw his dad just soul leave his body. And he texted me the next morning. He was like, "Thanks for doing that." Carter's so excited. He's like watching Paulo highlights. He's just on
yeah,
cloud nine. And you realize it doesn't take a lot of effort to make somebody's day. And especially when it comes to kids, it's like always go out of your way to make an effort when if a kid wants a picture or an autograph or whatever it is, because you never know what little interaction is, that kid might remember for the rest of their lives.
yeah. That's great. Great stuff, Spencer. Appreciate you taking the time. And like I said, you're part of that Northwest Brotherhood, which runs deep. Man, Nate and Isaiah and Brandon and Jamal. I mean, I say it like I know them, but I know them as players, and they're very involved in the community. I've seen you out at community events like you did, like you mentioned that camp you did with Panchero last weekend. So keep representing the Northwest. If people want to follow you, what's the best way to find you? Instagram?
I'm Spence Needle on Instagram and Spencer Hawes 00 on Twitter.
Great. Do you
And
still have the, don't you have a tie with the Space Needle on it?
yeah, upstairs, I'm saving it for the first game whenever it happens.
Yeah,
But
you'll be rocking that thing. Good. Well,
still in the flow.
awesome. Well, I'll put in the show notes your IG handle and all that. And great catching up with you. Appreciate you, and thanks for sharing the good stuff. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was fun.